Okay, I'm gonna go through the review to kind of help for the final. You can speed it up or slow it down. I'm gonna try to go through it as quickly as possible because it is very long, and skip through and just go to the questions that you need to know. So for the first part, a lot of these questions, 1, 2, and 3 are similar. They're just asking about whether it's a function or not. So a function is when every x has one pair. It has to have one pair, only one pair. So truly, when you're looking at a table, you don't care about the y. We don't need to look at those right now. What we care about is the x. Are they all different? Do they all have a pair? So here, if you look at the first table, you have 2 ones. So that's causing a problem. The other numbers are fine. So then when I look at the partners of 1, they're different. One has 2 and one has 16. So this is not a function, because 1 has 2 outputs. So a function is when every input has one output only. If we look at table 2, all the x's are different, so it passes. It means every x has one, like a different partner. So this is, yes, a function. It's 1 to 1. One x has one partner. They don't have, the same x doesn't have 2 pairs. So the third table, they're all different. So this one, same reason. And for the last table, the problem here is the 3s, the positive 3s. Let's look if they have a different pair, and they do have different partners. If they had the same partner, then it'd be fine. But no, not a function. Same reason as the first one, because 3 has 2 outputs. Okay, if we look at the second one, ordered pairs. So here, same thing. This is the x, this is y, this is x, this is y, this is x, y, x, y. Pair, ordered pairs are always x and y. So it's the same thing, just not written in a table. So all you really care about is the x's. You want to look at the x's. -2, -5, 1, 5. They didn't repeat. So yes, it's a function because it's 1 to 1. That would be the reason. So same reason as this one. For the second one, the question was which one represents a function, so that would probably be A. For this one, there's a problem here because the 5 has a -3 and then the 5 has a different pair. So that's no, because 5 has 2 outputs. For the third one, the error here is the 6. The 6 has 2 different pairs, so no, because 6 has 2 outputs. And for the last one, it's no again because the 5 has 2 outputs. So no, 6 has 2 outputs. No, because 5 has 2 outputs. Okay, when we look at a graph now, a graph, the way that we're able to tell whether it's 1 to 1, one x has one y, is really like you're just looking at a spot. If you look at 3, above it, there's an answer that goes up to 2, and then if you keep going up, there's another answer at 6. So no, we do a thing called a vertical line test. So what you want to do is you're imagining that there's a laser, a vertical laser that's going through the graph, and if it touches 2 spots, then it fails it. So here, if I draw a line, it's touching the top of the function and the bottom of the graph. So no, it's not a function, because it fails the vertical line test. For the second one, if we draw a vertical line and you drag it through left and right, let's say we move that line left and right, it's fine. It's only going to touch the graph once. So yes, it is a function because it passes the vertical line test. And for the last one, again, if you do a vertical line here or to the right, or however, if you drag it the whole way through left to right, if you drag that line, it would be no, because it's touching the graph at the top and it's touching it again at the bottom. So it means there's 2 answers. Like if you go to 1, if we draw a line right here at number 1 on the x-axis, the answer is 2, and then keep going down, the answer is -8. So that means you have 2 partners. It's kind of like if the table was set up like this, you'd have one that has the answer of 2 and one that has the answer of -8, and that doesn't work. So no, it fails the vertical line test. So that would be your answers for the first page. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, next one. Okay. Next one. Evaluate. Now you're evaluating a function. Evaluate just means that you should be getting a number answer. All this means is you have this equation and you want to plug in a 7. So basically where the x is, you put a 7. Where this x is, you put a 7. So f of 7 equals -2. 7, I like to write in parentheses, plus 5. And really, you're just doing the math. You can plug this into your calculator, or you can do it by hand. You're multiplying when they're next to each other, -2 and 7. That makes -14 plus 5. So when you add -14 plus 5, you get -9. So that would be the answer. F of 7, the answer is -9. Evaluate the following again. So again, all we're doing is where the x is, you're going to put a 3, a -3. So here, you put a -3. And also over here, because there's 3 parts. So g, -3. That's just telling us that you're going to plug in the number -3. 5, -3. There's an exponent, so leave it, plus 7, -3 minus 18. Again, you can plug it into your calculator or just do it piece by piece. We have to do exponents first. -3 times -3, that'd be 9. So we have 5 times 9 plus 7 times -3, that's a -21, minus 18. And now 5 times 9 is 45, plus a -21 minus 18. And now you just kind of want to add and subtract those numbers. So 45 minus 21. These two would give you 24 minus 18. The final answer is 6. So g of -3 is 6. When we plug in the number -3, we get 6. For graphs, we want to evaluate them. So we have this graph f of x, and we're asked to evaluate. So what you're doing is for the first 3, you are going to the x because this represents an x. So you want to ignore the y numbers for right now. You always want to start on the x. So you want to start here. That's where you want to start. So we're going to start at -1. -1 is right here. And what you're doing is you can only move up or down to get to the graph. So here the graph is above it, and you want to get a really good, it should hit the corner of the grid. So the answer is 2. It is not 1 because it's not touching it right there. It hasn't hit yet. It would be right there at 2. So the answer is 2. If we go to 5, again, the graph is above, and the answer is also 2. If you go to the number 2, now the graph is under it, so you'd have to go down until you hit the graph. So the answer is -7 because you had to drop down to -7. And for the last one, it is backwards. So for the last one, it says if the answer is -7, then what was x? That's essentially what it's asking. So we're going to go to -7 first on the y. So now this is the x, it's missing. This is the y. So you start on the y. And in this one, you move left and right. So we're going to go to -7. And is the graph on the left? No, there's nothing to the left. It's to the right. And when does it hit it? Right here. So how much did you have to go to the right? Well, that would be 2. It was 2 to the right. So, and it kind of makes sense because it's this one. If you put in a 2 in the parentheses, then the answer would be -7, which is exactly that one. Okay, here's another. Same thing. It's same examples. G of -1. So we're going to go to the x, -1, right here. And there's nothing below it, so it's going up until it hits the graph, and that would be 5. So the answer is 5. At -2, so right next to it, you would have to go higher, and that would hit at the number 8. So the answer is 8. For the last two, again, those are backwards. So we start on the y now. So we don't want to start on the x anymore. We don't want to start here. We want to start on the y. What x would give you level 4 is essentially what it's asking. So if I start at number 4, Well, I already hit the graph. So what x is underneath it? That would be 0. So it'd be 0. So if you plugged it back in, f of 0 equals 4. It means that if you started at 0 on the x, you would have to go up 4, and that does make sense. F of x equals -2, so now we're going to go down to -2. So at -2, where's the graph? Is it to the left or the right? It's to the right, and that would be 2, +2. So if you filled it in, let me move that out of the way, f of 2 equals -2. Let's check. If I start at number 2 on the x-axis, then I would have to go down to -2, which is true. So that works. So these are my answers for page 2. Okay, number 3, we are doing evaluating from a table. So really, for the ones on the left, those are still the x's, the inputs. So f of 1, this is an x. So you start on the x side. So we're at 1. And what's the answer? Just -3. Okay, f of -3, go to -3. And the answer next to f is -20. F of 7, here, the answer is 13. So you always want to start on the x. And f of 0, the answer is -4. And that's it. For the ones on the right side, this is again backwards. It's saying what x would, so if f of x equals 6, then what was x? So if the answer is 6, then what was the initial starting value? So now you're going backwards. You're starting on the right side. If the answer is 6, then the x had to be -4. If the answer is -12, then the x had to be 2. If the answer is -14, if the output is -14, then the x had to be -5. If the output is -3, then the input had to be 1. Okay, so those you go backwards. For the middle table, these are evaluating also a table, but now it's a composition. So if you kind of look at it, now it says f of g of -2. These are 2 different ways to write the directions. You can write it with this little circle, f of g of -2, or you can just write it in parentheses, f of g of -2. You say it the same way, and it means the same thing. But yeah, so the way that you read these is you want to start at the function closest to the value. So here we would have to get the answer to g from starting at -2. Or if you read it here at the center, this is where you're starting. So you're still going to start on the x, okay, for all of them. All of them. None of them are going backwards. So we're going to start at -2. That would be at the bottom. Now, is my answer 13 or is it -12? Because it says g, you don't want the column of f right now. So it is -12. So this part right here, or this part right here, has now turned into a -12. And now you start over. Now we're going to do f of -12 to get our final answer. So it means you still start in the x, in the input, now go to -12, but now your answer is coming from the first column, from f. So the final answer is -3. Okay, let's start over. We're going to do, first you need to get f of -3. So again, we start in the x. So I'm going to go to -3, and the answer has to come from f. So that's -17. So then this is -17. So now I need to start over. Now I need to start back in the first column, right here. And I need to go to -17. But there isn't an answer. There is no -17. So this one is undefined, because there had to be a -17 for us to start over and then get the answer from the G column. So that one was kind of like a trick question. f of -2. So first you're going to go to -2, and get the answer from f. So we start on the x, -2 is at the bottom, and the answer is 13. So this becomes a 13, or you can replace this one, positive 13. So now we start over. Okay, we start over from the x, from the input. Where is positive 13? In the middle. And it says f again, so your answer has to come from the f column again. So it is -13. And then for the last one, g of 0. So it means we have to go to 0 on the x, on the input. So that would be start from the x, go to 0, and you're getting the answer from g. So that would be in the back. So that's -6. So this part turns into -6. Now go back, start over in the input, -6, and again get the answer from g because it says g once more. So the final answer is -18. And that's how those kind of function. That's how those work. For 10, it is also a composition. You have f and g, and you are finding the value of f of g of 2. So I like to write it f of g of 2. I prefer to write in parentheses, but it also works with the little circle. And what this means is, again, we start at the center. So you need to plug in the number 2 into g. So I'm going to go to g first, into this one, and I'm going to put the value 2, the number 2. So it's g2. This has to have parentheses, this one as well. So I'm going to put parentheses squared minus 5, parentheses minus 2. And all I'm doing is putting the number 2 into all the places where x used to be. And you need to find its value. So 2 times 2, that's 4. Minus 5 times 2, that's a -10, minus 2. Now put them all together, 4 minus 10 minus 2. 4 minus 10 is -6, minus 2, that's a -8. So g of 2 is -8. Well, this part now turned into a -8. So now you have to go to f of -8. So now you're going to go up to the first function, the one that says f, and you're going to put a -8 for our final answer. So I would put parentheses again around the x only. Don't include the negative. F of -8. There's a negative, and then it would be x plus 2. And in there, we're going to put a -8. So because it is -8, it turns into a +8, and the final answer would be 10. So this part, the final answer is 10. We first put in the number 2 into g because it says fg2, so 2 goes to g first, and then that answer goes into f. So that's the answers for the third one. And then I'll stop here and break the video after I finish this page. This is a composite function with graphs now. So again, the top part is just how you would write the directions 2 different ways. So you can write it g of f of -7 or g of f of -7. So again, we start at f first and go to the number -7. This graph is f, this graph is g. So I'm going to go to first f, the one on the left, and go to the number -7. So let's go to -7 on the x-axis. It would be right here. And the graph is not above it because you can only go up and down. It's below it, and it's kind of hard to tell. Let me start over. So here's -7, and this is -1, but that's not low enough. So it does hit it at -2. So the answer is -2. Now it turns into g -2. So now you switch to the graph on the right, and you're going to go to -2 on the x, and again, the graph is below it. So you go down, and the answer is -7. So it actually is -7. So you just kind of have to follow where to go first. So first go to f, the graph f, the one on the left, go to -7. You had to drop down 2. Now go to -2, start at -2 on the g, and you had to drop down to 7. Number 12, evaluate f of g of -3. So you are going to start at -3 on the g graph. So that's the one on the right, because this one says G and the one on the left said F. So we're going to go to -3. Here's -3. Is the graph above it? No, there's nothing above it. It's below. How far do we have to go down to hit the graph? And make sure it's hitting at the corner. So it'd be here, -7. So this part is a -7. So now you're going to go to F, start over at F. Now it's F -7. So I'm going to go to -7 and then up or down, and it would be down, and it's only -1. So the final answer is -1. I first started at G on the graph on the right, and I went to -3. That answer brought me down to -7, and then I go back to F. I start at -7, and I drop down just 1. So the final answer is -1, because it's where you end up at the end. And then for these last two, we'll just finish them in this video. Given that you have a function f and g, find f plus g. So all they're really telling you to do is to add the two equations together. So you're not going to get like a value. It's x squared plus 5x plus 6. So that's f because it says f plus g. And now I'm going to add g to it. G is x plus 2. So simplify your answer. Okay, x squared can only add with other x squared. So there is no more. That goes into the final answer. 5x can add with another term that has an x. So it'd be this one. Because it's positive, it's basically 5 plus 1. So that's a 6x. And then 6 can add, that's a constant. It doesn't have a variable next to it. It doesn't have an x. So it can only add with another constant with 2. 6 plus 2, that's 8. And this would be my final answer. It's not of like a number, f plus g of x. This is what you get when you add the two functions together. All it did was add the x's and the constants. And then for 14, it says use the same functions, but find, evaluate. Evaluate now means you would get an answer, like the final answer is like 2 or 10 or something. F of 2, so you're going to go to F and plug in the number 2. And then at G, you're going to plug in the number -1, and then you add those together. So for F, I'm going to put parentheses left right there. And then for G, also parentheses. So for F, we're going to put the number 2. So 5 parentheses plus 6. And then for G, I'm going to put the number -1 into there. So let's go to F first. So we are plugging in the number 2. So 2 and 2. Now let's do the math on that. 2 times 2 is 4. 5 times 2 is 10. Plus 6, bring that down. And now add them together. 4 plus 10 plus 6. So that's 20. Okay, I get 20 when I plug in the number 2 into F. Now for G, we're plugging in the number -1. -1 plus 2, that's just 1. So for F, I got 20 when I put the number 2 into it. And for G, I got 1 when I plug in -1. And at the end, I said, hey, add them together. So 20 plus 1, the final answer is 21. This would be my final answer. F of 2 plus G of -1, the final answer is 21. We put the number 2 into F and into G -1, so the final answer was 21.